We jumped into the car, every Kyiv was in a traffic jam, and it took like 20 hours to get to Lviv region, but it was a good decision to rush immediately because people who waited for a few days, a lot of them were killed.
The Russian-Ukraine war began on February 24th, 2022, when Russia launched a full-scale invasion on Ukraine. Putin and Russia claimed that the invasion was necessary to demilitarize Ukraine. However, the U.S. and the West condemned the invasion as a violation of international law. The United States and its allies have provided Ukraine with military and financial assistance. The war has had a devastating impact on Ukraine and Russia. I have little knowledge on this war, and what information I do have on this war was solely delivered to me by the mainstream media over here in the United States.
The Russian president says a military operation is now underway in eastern Ukraine.
A full-scale invasion that intelligence officials had been warning about.
So, when I had the chance to talk with Roman, a Ukrainian business owner who is now fighting back against disinformation attacks from the Russian government about the status of the Ukraine war, I jumped on the opportunity. My conversation with Roman was both fascinating but also disturbing. My goal of this podcast episode isn't to be pro-Ukraine or anti-Russia. My goal is to learn from people going through this literal hell-on-earth experience. If anyone knows somebody involved in the war, whether they are in Ukraine or Russia, I would love an introduction and the opportunity to get them on the podcast so I can learn from their experiences as well. In this episode, we talk about Roman's experience fleeing Kyiv when Russia started its invasion. And we talk about his Wikipedia business at the end of the episode, and it might lighten up the mood since the first 45 minutes of the podcast are extremely heavy. So, without further ado, I present to you today Roman Melnyk. I'm excited, obviously, to have you on. Little backstory of even how we got to this conversation. I don't even know if you know how we got to this conversation. Basically, somebody from your team reached out to me and was trying to have, like, you all do services for us to make like a Wikipedia profile for me and for my business. And you know, I'm no longer even own that business. I sold my equity in the majority of the business they were reaching out about. But I was like, this is one of the coolest business models I've ever heard of. I've never heard of somebody doing Wikipedia page edits and creations for people. So obviously I was like, hey, you want to come on my podcast? The sales guy that was reaching out to me introduced me to you. And then I was doing research about who you are, what you do, about your business, and quickly realized that the majority of this conversation will probably have nothing to do with your business, because you have some crazy, crazy stuff going on right now where you are essentially helping fight in the Ukraine war, but through social media, through articles, through Wikipedia posts. It's kind of mind-blowing. I definitely want to touch on your business because it's a very unique business. I think this is a little bit more exciting, a little more unique, and a little more important for people to hear about. So I guess I just kind of want to start there, because as I, being 100% like completely honest with you, when it comes to like the Ukraine-Russian war, I know it like started back in February. I think it was 2022. I thought the world was ending. I was like, oh my God, it's World War III. I was like calling loved ones. I literally rushed. It was like 2 a.m. over here in America. So I like rushed to the gas station, filled up. I had like these gas cans I was filling up. I was like, the world is ending. Fast forward to today. No one really talks about it over here in America. The only time people do talk about the like Russia and Ukraine war is when we're complaining about how much money we're sending to Ukraine and arguing whether or not we should be doing that. It's literally like something that no one talks about anymore. And it's kind of crazy that no one's talking about it, because people are literally dying in the streets like by the thousands, and no one really cares. No one really talks about it, at least over here in America. I'm sure it's a totally different experience for you. So I kind of want to just start there. What was it like the day that the war started and you found out that Russia had invaded Ukraine?
It was a tragedy. It was a very scary day, and all of our team, we just evacuated from Kyiv, as we all have our office of Wikibusines in Kyiv, in the center, near our parliament, and it is a target number one for Russian rockets. So we all get somehow to the western part of Ukraine. It took like a few days to understand what's going on around, and we, for first maybe months, we closed our business and pushed all our energy and all our people. We started writing about Russian crimes, about Russian rockets, missiles, and all this stuff about war. We had almost for every village near Kyiv, we had a battle, and we started creating Wikipedia pages about every battle happened near every small village. Like 1,000 people live there, but Russian tanks were destroyed there. It was a battle, and we invested a lot of time. Also, some soldiers and from security services were reaching us and asking to correct some information. For example, one of the biggest victories on the first weeks of Russian invasion, it was Hostomel airport near Kyiv. It should be like a land base for Russian planes and helicopters, and they wanted to conquer it and then rushed into Kyiv. But this airport was defended by Ukrainians, and those who defended asked us to rewrite a little bit the page on Wikipedia because some facts were not true. For example, like not 100 Russians were killed by 200, not from this corner of that building happened, so something like that. So we were like documenting on Wikipedia, and Wikipedia is most trustful and most visited website of such type. It's not Facebook, or it's even not YouTube. Facebook can delete your post, YouTube can freeze your YouTube channel or downgrade or put shadow ban, but on Wikipedia, if you put it correctly, with neutral, with no like personal judgment, just fact, just a good source, and if you write a good article that Russians created like some genocide or killed people in Bucha, Mariupol, and so on, if you put some time and efforts and pick every little link from every news website, presidents, claims, and so on, you can make some narrative, for example, that it was really not just some coincidence, or that it was like part of a big genocide action or desire of Russia to destroy Ukraine, for example. One of good topics or like cases, it was Russian propagandist posted an article on some Russia website, but it was immediately deleted, but in Google cached it. And what was there? It was called What to Do with Ukraine, and it was like some like Nazi propaganda. It was about kill like half of Ukrainians, the other half should be like slaves, destroy all plants, they should only grow some grain and don't have any machinery or any technologies, and Ukraine should be not included into Russia, but it should be like part of, or should be like in the orbit of Russia, should ask for anything in Russia, no EU, no NATO, of course, and so on. But it was so severe, so strict propaganda that they even the maybe chief editor of this Russian it was big media outlet, they deleted it, but it was cached and it was in public, and we helped to spread it on Wikipedia on many languages, and people like you from America, they were shocked, because even now when we are trying to in Ukraine to talk to our friends abroad and tell that Russians just kill people, they always have a choice not to kill or just invade the city. Okay, it was an order from Putin to invade Ukraine, but Putin didn't order to kill everyone or to rape and so on. It is every time it is a decision on a very ground level for any soldier, and that is kind of impossible to imagine for Europeans, for Americans, for, so to say, West civilization, that it can happen in 21st century, and this myth should be destroyed. That yes, it can happen like 100 years ago, it like just repeats in a new form. You can see drones, you can see 4G Starlinks from Elon Musk, our soldiers use, and you can see some crimes with people like beheaded and raped and so on, so on, so on.
Jeez. All right. Well, that you just gave us gave me a lot
Yeah,
of stuff.
sorry for
And
that.
yeah, this is definitely going to be the heaviest podcast I've ever done. I mean, you were talking about, I guess, like from the beginning, you were talking about like the day it started, you had no idea what was going on. Like, did you have any idea? Was there any heads up that like, hey, Russia or rather Putin is planning to invade, or was it literally just completely out of the blue?
Everyone outside Ukraine was persuaded that Russia will invade in the coming days, but in Ukraine we were all very optimistic, and Zelensky and our president, they were all persuading, don't leave Ukraine, everything will be good, it's just talkings, and Russia is always crazy, but not so crazy. So almost no one believed, and it was a surprise for everyone. That's why so many casualties, as eastern part of Ukraine wasn't prepared well. The army was prepared, and it's great. That's why Kharkiv and all this northern part of Ukraine, they defended it themselves. But in a week, Russians were near Kyiv. And they went through Chernobyl area. So no one expected like that they will conquer closed Chernobyl's nuclear power station, which is still dangerous, and it has a lot of uranium and so on. And they killed like 200 defenders on this National Guard of Ukraine. They were just standing there. They like conquered and rushed into Kyiv. So yeah, it was surprising. But in a week or two, Ukrainians, like in general, felt that we can win this war and we can stand, and America and Europe was kind of slow in this process, but America, Biden, from the first day stated officially that they will be with Ukraine as long as needed, and it helped. Just like to make this story short, what I know like from the news, that like in 2 months Ukrainians, our armed forces used all the weapons we had, all the bullets and so on, and later like NATO, the US and so on, they helped us, but like first 2 months it was only Ukraine and Russia. So
Yeah.
it's also it was a good test. I think even Biden, everyone was looking from the side if we are ready to defend, because we had this case with Afghanistan when America invested more than $1 trillion in and created a 300,000 army, and half of it joined Taliban just in the first day. So. And no one knew really from in Western countries, and I don't blame them, what will happen. Maybe Ukrainians will say, yeah, Russia is our good friend, who knows.
Yeah. And now you said that it took you multiple days to get out of, because you were in Kyiv, right? You were like in the center of where everything was going down, and it took you multiple days to get out. Where did you go to? Are you living in Ukraine right now? Like, are you in a safe place, or are you still in like a bit of a battle zone?
I am in a safe place. Everything is okay, and we are still helping with information war. We are still, for example, when a new rockets are shelling our cities, we are rushing or to bomb shelters or to internet, and we are trying to publish a new article about this and help it spread into multiple languages on Wikipedia.
Yeah. And what was it like trying to escape Kyiv? Like, was it, because I've heard, obviously I've only heard what I've heard over here, and you know, some articles say it was easy, they were able to evacuate. Other ones say it was like the craziest, most stressful, literally 24/7 evacuation process. What was your experience? What was it like trying to escape the city?
It wasn't, for me, it wasn't so difficult, as me with my family, we wake up at 5 a.m. When we heard bombings of Kyiv. We heard our anti-air missiles were hitting Russian missiles. We live near the biggest airport in Ukraine, like 15 kilometers. So we heard these bombings, and I remember I have to check what's happening. I opened a news website, and it says Putin claimed war, and the source Putin's direct speech. And I opened YouTube, and he was speaking like in direct speech. That today I decided to invade Ukraine, so on, so on, so on. And I hear like bombings around the Kyiv, and luckily we have a car and with full fuel tank.
Yeah.
Because sometimes if you are too optimistic, you can think I will fill the tank like during like some trip. But before, I never put the car with the full tank. But before, yeah, it was my good decision, and we jumped into the car. Every Kyiv was in a traffic jam, and it took like 20 hours to get to Lviv region, to western part.
Yeah, I was going to say, I would assume the streets must have been completely flooded with cars.
They were flooded, but it was a good decision to rush immediately, because people who waited for a few days, a lot of them were killed, because those who lived near Kyiv, on the north part of Kyiv, they were waiting for something, and Russians just came and occupied Bucha, Irpin, those two satellite cities of Kyiv. If I stay in Kyiv, maybe nothing would have happened. Luckily, as Kyiv wasn't occupied, only bombed a little bit, but those who rushed immediately, they were more in safety than those who were waiting, as many villages in Kyiv Oblast were for 2 months under occupation, and in northern parts of Ukraine. Those who just decided, I live in a village near Kyiv, who cares why Russians would come here, but they came there to those poor villages, and and so on and so on.
Yeah, geez. And do you know people that are still in Kyiv? Or do you have friends or family members that are still there either fighting or that weren't able to make it out?
Yeah, part of my team is in Kyiv. They returned to Kyiv as to live in a small city is not so funny, I would say. And Kyiv is the biggest city. It's like megapolis for Ukraine, so it's nice to be there. And thanks to Patriot anti-air systems from America, Kyiv now is maybe more safe than any other city in Ukraine. In May this year, maybe you saw on even American newspapers, Russians were bombing Kyiv with rockets every night, and even twice per day. They were trying to destroy this air system, American Patriots, because Putin told that, it's not so. It's easy for us to destroy Patriots. Send them to us, to Ukraine. They are good targets for our super pooper missiles, rockets. But thanks to all these systems, Kyiv is in safety. But what I know that a lot of people are in panic, because a few hours during a night you hear all these bombings, and for children, for women, it is kind of impossible to resist all this, and it's very hard psychologically. And many people were returning to Kyiv from Europe, like families, and after that a new wave of migration appeared, as many people decided it's too early to come back to Kyiv, to Ukraine, and came back to Europe.
Yeah.
So it's like safe. It's safe. My relative, like my nephew, he lives near Kyiv, and he says like it's okay, but his mama says that no, he's pretending to be okay, like to be a hero, but no,
trying to be the tough guy, and really it's like let's wait a little bit.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense. Now you were also mentioning from before that when you were leaving that there was a group of Ukraine fighters. I don't even know if they were technically soldiers, if they were just people fighting, and they had defended off. I believe you said it was an airport, right? Where they had defended, and
they defended it. Yeah, it isn't ruined.
Yep, and so they said that there were like 200 or so people, Russian soldiers that they had to fight off and kill, and then on Wikipedia it was only showing 100. So I guess what is the process like? How does Wikipedia, because obviously you're on the Ukraine side, Ukraine people are going to say, hey, we fought off 200 people. Russia's going to say, no, it was only 100. How does Wikipedia know who's telling the truth? How do they confirm that you're actually telling the truth when you're going there updating pages? Like how does that process work?
Wikipedia likes to have a good source like New York Times, Bloomberg, or some reputable European or Ukrainian source. But of course, Ukrainians and Russian sources are kind of biased. So it's if you edit English Wikipedia, usually we try to use American or European language or British sources like BBC, New York Times. And it's like Washington Post, and it's completely okay. And if they state something, it will work. But some information isn't shared or is not backed by those sources. So we sometimes just put it without any source and just monitor if Russians don't delete it. So in Wikipedia, ideally you should every fact prove with some source, some link. But if you don't have, you can like with a good faith insert it, put it there, and maybe no one will delete it. But that's also a source for fakes. You can like put vice versa information. But what we do, we try to monitor such edits and delete them. That's also part of our job. There are some cases, but it will be a long story. But usually, if you don't have any source, we usually also encourage our team or our friends just to put anything if it's true or from soldiers it happened, put it there. Maybe in the future it will be somehow verified and this information will be not deleted or wasted.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Now, what is your feeling or maybe even just Ukraine's kind of sentiment towards Russia, Russian people, Putin? Like, what is maybe pre-war and now during the war? What is the sentiment around Russia? Is it? Do you hate Russia? Do you not mind Russia? You just hate Putin? Like, what is the feeling like in Ukraine? Because I know at least here in America, I mean, we very rarely get invaded, but we did get invaded. I mean, the most recent large attack would have been in 9/11. When the Twin Towers were knocked down. It's still a little unclear exactly what even happened, which is kind of crazy that it's not been 100% set in stone what happened in that situation. But I mean, it was like everyone was rocking American flags, everyone had them outside their house, everybody was wearing American t-shirts, everyone had bumper stickers. It was like, support the troops, let's go America, let's go to Afghanistan, let's go to the Middle East, and let's show them who America is. What is it like in Ukraine? Because I can only speak from our kind of overly patriotic country. So what is it like over there?
I would say it's the same as you described wars during 9/11 attack. Ukrainians before the war, Ukrainians really tolerated Russians and even tolerated that Russia occupied Crimea and started a proxy war on Donbass in the eastern part of Ukraine. As we had before this big invasion, we had 8 years of secret war when they backed some separatists, they sent their troops with no labels and were denying that Russians are there. And 15 8,000 soldiers were killed during these 8 years, or something like that. It's a very big number, but Ukrainians tolerated and even traveled to Russia, to relatives, just to work in Moscow, as it's a like kind of big city, and so on and so on. But after invasion, I can like truly say that Ukrainians hate Russians the most in our history. All the curses the Ukrainian can like imagine and say, they say. even Ukrainians jump into some Instagram or Facebook threads and into Russians and text there some messages and in style, we will destroy your Russia, you're all rapers, you are all destroyers, and so on. What are you doing? In the first months of the war, Ukrainians were more polite and were trying to persuade Russians to do something, like make a riot, kill the Putin, change the power, you are democracy, people have the power, please do something, go to protests. But what Russians replied, it's not a war, it's some special operation, all your photos of killed people is fake, it's all America, it's NATO, it's again America. You are just a proxy state, you are a failed state, you are a dog of America, you are barking at us, and so on. We will liberate you from Americans' hand, we will liberate you from Western gay LGBTQ propaganda, we will liberate you from everything you have, and so on. And after that, people of Ukraine started just don't try to persuade or to contact Russians, just hate them and donate and help our army and do anything they can to make the victory quicker.
Yeah. No, I mean that's it. I mean, it kind of makes sense if
it's kind of obvious. I would say that we hate them. It's even not patriotic or heroic. It's just to hate your enemy. It's just biology.
I was gonna say it's a human instinct to fight. Stick up for your team,
if you
your
want
country.
To live, if you want to live, you should hate. But we have some people who say you shouldn't hate Russians. If you hate Russians, you became a Russian too. But
I mean,
those people don't.
Also, who says that? Are those just people in America that are Europe that aren't living in a war zone? I assume.
No, in Ukraine we have some people.
Really?
We call them Facebook warriors, as they don't
Facebook
fight.
What? Facebook what?
Like fighters.
Oh, Facebook fight.
Facebook
Okay.
soldiers.
Okay.
Got
it. Yeah.
Or sofa couch soldiers who are sitting on sofa couch and on the bed with laptop, and they are like trying to learn everyone how to hate Russia or how to love Ukraine. And
yeah, well, and it's, I guess in theory they're right. Like in theory we should all love each other. In theory we should all get along and sing Kumbaya together and be one happy Earth. That is what I think everyone would ideally want to have happen. And so they're probably right in that aspect. But from a literal survival instincts, if that's how Ukraine's sentiment was, I don't think you guys would be putting up any fight at all. And I mean, it would just be getting rolled over. And then also what's kind of crazy is the people that are saying that nowadays, I mean, I don't know how much you follow along with like what's going on Twitter or what was going on with Twitter, how Elon Musk was trying to buy it and trying to verify how many actual real users there were versus just AI bots and fake accounts. I mean, half those people that could be saying that online could literally be just Russian propagandist accounts just spreading information, trying to get you guys to literally roll over. There's really no way to know or verify that. But anyways, that's all crazy. Now, I guess I had another question off of kind of what you were saying there. So around like Russia, or I should say not even Russia, what Putin? And I should also say, once again, I'm just a dumb American that I don't speak any other languages other than English. So I have literally no idea what, Putin is saying in these speeches other than what the translator, tells me he's saying. But in the speeches, he was saying stuff like, Ukraine's been infiltrated. They're a bunch of Nazis. They're all trying to make your kids be gay or trans, and all this craziness is what he's saying. From your perspective, I guess, one, you probably can actually understand what he's saying. So I would be curious if that is what he's saying. And then two, I would be curious to know, what is the culture like there in Ukraine, I would say pre-war? Was it very free-spirited, like big, like promoting LGBTQ, whatever the acronyms are? Was it like very, like, because we here in America have like really just two very divided sides. We have the side that's like, you should love who you want, you can identify as whatever you want, and then we have the side that's like, we should kill all those people. And then there's like the majority of the country that's in the middle, but nobody hears from them because it's not fun to be.
You have Florida and California.
Yeah, exactly. And then you have a bunch of normal people in the middle, and nobody listens to them. So what was it like, I guess, kind of just like from a social climate in Ukraine before the war?
Before the war, Ukraine was kind of free society. We had gay parades in Kyiv for many years, and in Russia you cannot find any. But the Putin didn't mention about the gays, I suppose, in his speech. He mentioned more about that Ukraine is an artificial country. It is part of a big Russia, kind of historical myth, and that I even forgot, it was so nonsense, but kind of also that Ukrainian regime, like Zelensky, who is a Jewish by ethnicity, he called him like Nazi, that Ukraine is full with Nazi. Who is Nazi? No one knows. And that we will help to change the regime. Like the principal idea was to change the regime, to make it pro-Russian, and then to change Ukrainian politics and maybe integrate into Russia. But it started with just a war, and of course no one. They were sending SMS messages, Russians, to all the mayors of cities of Ukraine, and even to Ukrainian generals and Ukrainian soldiers, with a text like, just raise white flag, just retreat, and we will save your life, and maybe you will be a ruler after we invade and conquer Ukraine, something like that. But no one from big public figures, no one betrayed Ukraine. We had some betrayals on like middle level, some policemen in southern parts of Ukraine, but they were maybe infiltrated agents, who knows. Russia pays a lot of money, usually, so I cannot say that like no one betrayed Ukraine. We had some, but like mayors of cities, even in Kharkiv, it's near Russia, and the mayor of city is Russian by ethnicity. He has Russian surname. He don't know Ukrainian at all, but he is like more patriotic than anyone could imagine. And it changed Ukraine. Like language question wasn't so high in Ukrainian society, as many people speak Russian, and right now it's like not a question. A question is if you help somehow Ukraine to survive or not. And if you had also many people in army who are like Afghanistani origin, as we have Afghanistani, Armenian, Georgian diasporas, and they also joined forces, and we have a Jewish battalion with a rabbi who also is serving in the army. And they even call themselves funny. We are Nazis, as like Jewish who are serving in our Ukrainian armed forces. They even like had some labels, funny labels like Ukr Nazi Battalion, something like that.
Yeah. And go ahead.
So Putin just wanted to. He said almost everything vice versa. He said we don't want to invade or occupy, but it was his main intention, and he said like we don't fight with Ukrainian people, just with Ukrainian regime, but but most of who died, they were just civilians, even not soldiers, and Zelensky and all the political elite is alive, and they don't have like any possibility to destroy them. So they just decided to make harm and to make pain for just for Ukrainians. It was also unbelievable. Why? But yeah, in the first days they were trying to reach military, to destroy some military bases. But in 2 weeks they started to shelling bombs to everywhere they wanted, and in the summer, when parts of Ukraine were liberated, in eastern part of Ukraine, in every city, there were hundreds of bodies found digged in the fields, in the woods, and still exhumation processes are going on to estimate how many were killed. And even in the parts of Ukraine which speak Russian language, Russians found hundreds of people who they killed. Like, I don't know for what they killed. Like, even they speak the same language, so to say. They were not like the kind of culture. Before the war, we thought that culture is similar with Ukraine and Russia, as language is kind of shared, as many people know and speak Russian. And we used to watch Russian YouTube channels, Russian cinema, movies, and music was in top charts of Google Music or Apple Music. Many Russian rap stars were there, and so on. After the war, it changed, but even now Ukrainians like to listen some Russian music, but it's more about not politics, but just some behavioral questions, why people still. But it was a sharp decline in Russian culture in Ukraine. Many streets were renamed after Pushkin or after some other Russian poets who died 200 years ago, who are not bombing Ukraine right now, but cities decided, okay, we will change all the names. It was not Zelensky who asked. People decided from grassroots movement was to clean all this Russian culture in any way. Streets, books, libraries, some cinemas were named after some Russian, for example, directors. They were all renamed during this year.
Yeah.
And Russia was anticipating that Ukraine will in a few years join NATO and EU, and we were making good progress, we were making reforms, we were fighting corruption. The things which are unimaginable in Russia were happening in Ukraine, and they decided to try to push back Ukraine. It was like their last chance to keep Ukraine near Russia, and we were maybe too slow in our progress. That's why we were not so ready. And
what is the like thought or sentiment around NATO in Ukraine? Are people now, I assume now they're probably very pro NATO, but like before the war, did people want to join NATO? What were or did you even think about NATO? Did anybody even talk about NATO? Like, what was the thought process around it?
The irony is that before the war, Ukrainians were mostly not against NATO because of the reason was we don't want to irritate Russia, or we don't want to join any military blocs. We are peaceful. Ukraine surrendered its nuclear weapons in 1990s, so we are peaceful. Why to join NATO? It was very I would say it was not smart position, of course, but half of our population was raised during Soviet times, and during Soviet times NATO was like an enemy, and for some reason it wasn't reverted during independence time. So it wasn't a big support. But when Spain was joining NATO, like 20 years ago or something like that, support level was like 20% to join NATO. But they joined without any referendum. And after joining, support level raised to 50-60%. So when NATO wants some country, it like close eyes on the like what people think about it.
Yeah, it is. It is something just from the outside looking in. It is weird how much NATO, I assume, had like kind of played into this war that no one really talks about. Because I mean, that is, from my understanding, is a big reason why Putin and Russia was freaking out about Ukraine, is because they didn't want a NATO, like a massive country bordering them that's part of NATO. And now with the war, it's obviously going to be, I would assume, even more likely that you all would want to join NATO and try to join NATO, given
And
this craziness.
Finland joined NATO.
Yeah, because they border Russia.
Which borders Russia like more than 1,000 miles.
Yeah, yeah. And I know that's been like a big issue for Russia, and having another country border them would be, not ideal for them. But then I don't know if this is the way that you'd want to assert your dominance going in and essentially trying to wipe out a country of a lot of innocent civilians. And that is something I was curious about as well. Like, how many? I have no idea. I don't know if there's even something I can look up. How many civilians have been killed by Russia during this war? Is there like an estimate or a count of how many like innocent just bystanders have been killed because of this war?
It's not like millions or thousands or hundreds of thousands. I think maybe 10 to 30,000. It's difficult to estimate, as we all know that in Bucha killed like 1,000 people, in a few liberated cities like from 100 to 500, but we still don't know what is going on occupied parts of Ukraine. And Mariupol, near Azov Sea, it had 500,000 population, and it was destroyed to rubble. And as someone like estimates are very like shaky. Some says that maybe 20,000 people were killed in Mariupol, and it can be true, as even some people I know, like public figures who are from Mariupol, and they say that yes, someone's mom was killed there, or or not killed but died from depression or from stress. It's also like mortality rate is increasing in Ukraine, as many people, old people, I can like feel and estimate, are dying like because of stress. Many grandmas of my friends just died, or grandpas, and it's like, why? Like, I don't know, but I think all it gets to more deaths, like not only in occupied cities.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very underrated killer, is stress.
And for example, a few buses with Ukrainians were like had like accidents on roads in Poland during first months. They were like rushing to Poland, to Germany, and maybe they were not sleeping for a few days, and a lot of people just were killed on car accidents. Or some volunteers were trying to save someone, and I know some such stories from my native city in western part of Ukraine. Volunteers were coming back from Donbass, from eastern part of Ukraine, just to rest for a few days. Volunteers, they were helping military and just people, and they made some accident and were killed because they were not cautious enough, as they were too tired because of the war. They were not sleeping, like they had no sleep like for 2 or 3 days, and this all technically they just died on the road, but because of what everyone knows, and no one will estimate this.
Yeah, jeez. And you'd also mentioned before something about like not only murders but also rapes, and that's something I haven't heard about here in America is Russian soldiers raping people, but I'm pretty sure that's like a war crime. So what is happening around raping people? Like, that sounds like the most barbaric thing that could be happening over there.
It was a big discussion and a big pain in Ukrainian like hearts and minds a year ago, when a few cities were liberated and people started just saying what happened, and police and prosecutors from women got some reports, and there are a lot of not just said but officially recorded rape crimes by Russian soldiers, and it is not like one, two, there are hundreds of them, and even chief spy of Ukraine, intelligence unit, in one interview said that like a common knowledge. Yeah, we know, for example, one girl like 10 years was raped like 20 times, something like that, by many like Russian soldiers. We know, I even didn't know about that fact, but he like said in an interview as a common fact, and everyone like knows. Yeah, we know this and another, but we won't rape their women, Russian women. We will just kill all these soldiers, like who made this. We will punish them. It is like justice, but we will not do what they did, as it's barbarian, as you said. And Ukrainians will not ever repeat this, but they will punish. But it's like in discussion, this is like these facts even don't scare anymore. It's just bad facts.
Jeez.
And in Poland, I heard also another story. There are some children from this Irpin, Bucha cities near Kyiv, and they still cannot say a word because of all these killings and rapings. Psychologists cannot make them speak. They just don't
Really?
speak. Yeah.
Jeez.
It's like 7 years old, 10 years, something like that. Another story.
And so these are people that are like, when you're talking about these, like this 10-year-old girl and the other people that have been getting raped, it's not even people that are like, they're not raping and killing. They're literally raping and leaving behind.
Mm-hmm.
Jeez, that's brutal. And what is, like, so I'm just kind of curious because I don't know how you'd escape this. When, like, for people in Ukraine, like, I get on social media, I get on Instagram, Facebook, whatever. I'm going to get on to scroll around and kind of decompress and do whatever. I'm seeing videos of, you know, the algorithm. It's showing me videos of cats, and it's showing me videos of dogs playing and people snowboarding down beautiful, you know, mountains. What is social media? I mean, because I can't imagine anyone's showing anything that lives in Ukraine other than the war. What does your social media look like?
It's a good question. When Ukrainians try to post all these photos or just text with effect on Twitter holds these accounts and put them into shadow ban. It
Really?
means you post, but your followers almost not see it, and it is not being promoted to anyone. It's because, as you said, people, Twitter, YouTube, they want to earn money and to show good content which makes a good mood, and you smile and you look advertisement and you pay money for this. But how to advertise on rapings, on killed people, and it's also a challenge for big tech companies like Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and so on, as they were not prepared for this. That people would like to see this content, and you would also see. You would not say, "I will never want to see this." You are interested, but you don't see this as Facebook decided not to irritate you or make you sad. It's their decision, and how to make an advertisement after some photos of killed people or even some texts which are like about what's happening in Ukraine.
Jeez.
We have a lot of photos, like soldiers have internet connection on the front lines. Starlinks, with the help of Elon Musk, connects like people, and they share many videos, photos of killed Russians, of killed soldiers, and but usually how it is being spread, it's being spread on Telegram, if you know this messenger. Telegram.
No, is that what is Telegram?
Telegram, it is kind of Russian origin, but let's keep it. It's very popular in Iran, Ukraine, Russia, and kind of Brazil, maybe in some strange countries. I would say it's similar to WhatsApp app. It's like
Okay.
Messenger app, but you also can have news and news channels. And for example, Zelensky, our president, has a channel with 1 million subscribers and so on. And Telegram doesn't ban anyone. You can maybe only child pornography, but if you share some, both Russians show what they do with Ukrainians, and the Ukrainians share what they like, how they kill Russians on the front line. And it is, yeah, if you want to see like what's going on, it's most easy to use this Telegram app or social network, I would say.
What is the Telegram? How do you spell Telegram? For
Telegram.
Telegram. Is it just Telegram?
Yes.
I'd be curious if I can even download it here in America. I'd be very interested.
It is like top 10 in the world. It is not like some marginal app. It is kind of maybe 1 billion downloads it should have, I suppose. It's like not some minor one. But America likes,
should be able to use it. Yeah, wow. I don't know if I actually want to download it because I don't know if I want to see all this crazy, depressing stuff going on. But I would be curious if it's something that I could even look at.
And if you post a photo of some sensitive content, as Facebook name it, your account can be banned for 30 days, shadow banned. Shadow ban, maybe you don't know what is it. It doesn't tell you that you are banned, but no one see your post. Like if you directly open your Facebook or Twitter account, you can see all the tweets, but you will see no one likes. But why? Because it's not being promoted in this thread of posts.
Interesting. So does this one do based off of like what's most popular, or is it just in chronological order of what's been posted? How do they organize the feed on Telegram?
In Telegram, it's only about what channels are you subscribed to. You will see all their content. It's another it's not like thread. It's only channels you subscribe.
Okay,
it's another approach and kind of useful or easy. When we had like thousands of news per day, like Russians were invading from 8 directions, and and everyone wanted to know everything. And in Telegram, it's like easy as you receive like a new pop-up, a new message in news, and you can easily navigate what's going on.
Interesting. And now, I guess that's interesting. I'm gonna have to check it out. I'll probably have to post this podcast on there because it'll probably get taken off of YouTube if I'm being honest. But that's okay. We'll try and share it with some people. Would love to just learn a little bit more about, I guess, specifically how you're fighting back against Russia using Wikipedia, using like your experience on like just social media marketing and Wikipedia specifically. And then I'd also would love to learn a little bit more about the business. But can you just kind of start there? Like, how are you helping Ukraine's effort in this war around online censorship?
Okay, because we have a team of people who know English well and who know how to edit Wikipedia. We put a lot of efforts into feeding Wikipedia with pages about war crimes, politics, and what Russians really think and do. And we, as I mentioned before, we created a page about this Russian propaganda article, which was mistakenly published and deleted, but it was all true and all what Russian elites are thinking about Ukraine. And when we see some, I would say, hype topic, like which can be interesting for everyone in Western countries, we usually try to highlight it and to translate from Ukrainian into Russian. For example, massacre in Bucha or genocide in Bucha. This article was already created by some Americans, I would say, and Ukrainians, and we expanded it. Office of President of Ukraine asked us to upload some photos from Bucha. They gave us like on a flash card and sent us good quality photos, and we know how to upload them because not to violate some copyright permissions. And we also we uploaded many photos from photos which states about and which describes what Russians did in Ukrainian cities. And we also highlight some stories about victories of Ukrainian armed forces. For example, when Ukrainians sink Russian main ship, Moscow. We also helped to create this article and translate it into Japanese, Korean, and many other languages in order to show their communities that what we have done, and that we are not just asking for some help or for money, that we are good in, as some American senators said, that Ukrainians are good in destroying Russians. It's a good investment into Ukraine, as you kill many Russians. It was Russians were so angry about this, but we are not working against Russians, just against Russian invasion, and just for truth. And people usually are maybe too lazy or not so well educated to open Wikipedia, for example, or to Google for some news. And Wikipedia is also read by more educated people, I would say. So we are working with those who can spread the word, and we know that many journalists who make some reportage or try to write a new material on some topic, they will Google to gather some material, and what will pop up in the first place? Wikipedia, mostly. And Wikipedia is like just a good guide, and you can see what links were used, and you can scroll all these links and make your picture, your own like decision what to do and how to react. So in some way, when we are collecting all the facts and putting all those links in a format of Wikipedia page, we also help for future generations to make their picture and to understand more precisely. As what was happening 1 year ago, I cannot remember very well, but when I read Wikipedia, it was true, But if we didn't write about it, or someone also wouldn't write, it will just be lost, and it will be erased in some way, and it will be said, it was just Putin, it was his mistake, Russians were good. But when you open Wikipedia page on particular crimes of Russians, and you will see those photos, you will think maybe it wasn't Putin who was raping those women, but it was a particular Russian soldier. So we are making like documentation of this war, of victories of our armed forces, of crimes of Russians, of just like all aspects of war. We are trying to highlight, push into English Wikipedia, as it's very well like indexed in Google, and everyone reads it who needs it. And we also translate with our volunteers to Spanish, French, German languages, and help to spread the word. About Ukraine.
I mean, that's awesome. Have you been noticing like a difference? Has it been making a difference in the community in Ukraine? Are there any stories that you've heard of people actually like reading this and like thanking you for helping out? Because this is, as you're saying, you're literally documenting history in real time, which is something that, I mean, really in every other real major war, there has not been the ability to quite literally document things with the help of smartphones and Wikipedia and social media. There hasn't been a war that we've been able to document in real time. So have people been noticing the work you've been putting in and appreciative of it?
Not so much, because everyone wants to help as she can, and many people are just fighting, and many are dying, and many are just sending money. So maybe in the future someone will like estimate and will say it was a good part of your job. But right now it's like a mess in Ukraine. Everyone is like an ant trying to make some small contribution to the victory.
Yeah. Yeah.
But some soldiers are coming to us and asking to help to rewrite or expand a Wikipedia page about their battalion or about their some chief. So yes, we are like helping to even to promote battalions, because it's also kind of PR. And battalions in Ukraine are trying to recruit good guys to fight, and it's another topic. But our battalions, like we have like kind of old one, but we have a lot of new ones which have their Facebook pages, Instagram, TikToks, and they are also like showing some content, and also are thinking about how Wikipedia looks. Or our Wikipedia page has an old photo, not correct information. Please help us, and we are helping them.
Yeah, that's awesome. And where did you learn? How did you learn how to edit Wikipedia pages? Like that's something I've never even thought about looking into.
I learned maybe 15 years ago. I was a schoolboy, and I had an internet, and I like maybe heard on television something about Wikipedia, and I will Google, and how to create a page. Wow, it's so easy, kind of easy, and it wasn't deleted, luckily. And yeah, my first page was about a movie, 300 Spartans. It's like a Hollywood movie. I translated it from English to Ukrainian. It wasn't there, yeah, and it's still there, and yeah, it's some contribution.
That's awesome. Yeah, how many Wikipedia pages do you think you've created over the 15 plus years you've been doing this?
Hundreds, of course, but thousands expanded significantly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it'd probably be more so editing and updating existing Wikipedia pages versus, I guess, making new ones from scratch, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool, very cool. And so, obviously, the way that we ever even originally got acquainted is that you were reaching out to me to help me, or someone from your team was reaching out in the interest of me potentially wanting to hire you guys to make me a Wikipedia page or my business a Wikipedia page. Can you tell me, like, what the heck your business even is? Like, what does your business do? What is it? How long has it been around? What do you do?
Yeah, me and my friends, we were like editing Wikipedia just for fun, for spreading knowledge, and we noticed that many politicians and businessmen were asking us to help them to establish a page there on Wikipedia or to correct some information, and we were doing like this for free, and then decided why not to charge some money for it and make it more professional. And we noticed when we are doing it for free, we are doing it like we were doing it long, not so bad quality because it's for free and so on. But when someone like paid a few bucks, it's like it's a job, and equality rise, and clients tell another people that those guys can like deliver you a good page or a good consulting with some kind of money. And in some way we became the first in Ukraine who make like an agency. Many Wikipedia editors were just editing, taking some money, but they were like hiding this fact that it's not so good, as you should be like neutral on Wikipedia. But we decided to make it like transparent. Yeah, we earn money, we publish pages, we don't publish any like fake, only good companies or good people, and so on. And then we decided, why not, after the war, why not to write about businessmen and politicians on global scale. And that's how our people wrote to you on LinkedIn. We are just asking, we saw that you are some CEO or marketing specialist, like in your description, and just asking people and make it connections. It's how we do, and we offer what Wikipedia gives the client. When you have Wikipedia page, it's on the top of Google indexation, and you have this Google Knowledge panel on the right corner of Google search, and many people appreciate this in companies, and it's very easy to explain what do you sell. We sell Wikipedia pages. Oh, and people usually want it or don't care about it, so it's easy. We don't try to persuade, you need this, please buy this. No, usually people are asking us, can we create, and we are estimating, and we are saying, you are too young, or your company is only 5 years old and has no media, has no news on Bloomberg or New York Times. Please work on your publicity, make some scandals or innovations, whatever.
Make some scandals.
Yes, sometimes we advise such in such a way. Sometimes it's easier and cheaper. Make some stupid action, and everyone will write about it, and it will help.
That's hilarious.
So we are
That's hilarious.
consulting, and many consulting as people want, but we persuade, we consult and explain why we can create for you. People are like, okay, I said, and we try to cheer them up and say, you will have in a few years, just work, just believe in you.
just have a few more scandals or a few more books published. Wait, and so like for someone like me, like obviously I'm no famous politician or anything like that. Like, what would you look at for somebody that is, maybe not that like big or popular, but I have somewhat of an online presence. Like, what do you look at to be like, okay, Chris, yeah, you could have a really nice Wikipedia page, or like, Chris, you need to go have a few more scandals and and news stories. Like, what do you look for?
We look for news and for books, maybe, and there are some particular guidelines on Wikipedia. And for businessmen, they are that a business person should have a big company, and the company should also have its own Wikipedia page, and this businessman should have an impact on their industry. Like, not just, but like in kind of Zuckerberg or Mark Zuckerberg, or of course
like
Elon Musk,
or
and
something,
yes, but even smaller one. But if the founder of a particular company is interesting enough for media, because everything on Wikipedia is based on media. You can have like a modest company, but if you are a freak in some way or gives a lot of interviews and people like you can have a Wikipedia page. But if you are a smart guy, a good company, but like no news, it will be impossible to publish. So yeah, we frankly estimate and frankly tell our potential clients that we cannot. Sorry, what you can do, like, be more active in media field, and maybe it will help you in the future.
Yeah, and what's the benefit of having a Wikipedia page? Because I literally never even thought about having my own Wikipedia page, so you all reached out to me, and I was like, that's kind of interesting. I mean, I still don't think I need one, but it is interesting. Kind of what you're saying is if I'm Googled, I'll be the very first thing on Google because it'll be my Wikipedia page.
Yeah.
But like, what are other benefits to having a Wikipedia page, either for yourself or for your business?
It's self-estimation, I would say, for persons, and for companies, it is they like when Google indexes them, and on Wikipedia page gathers all the basic information, and it's easy. Like, use case, startup is attracting money, and if the startup has its Wikipedia page, investor who wants to estimate or to make some decision, if this investor has some analysis and report made by her team, he would like also to look at this company, and when she Googles, she sees this Wikipedia page, and it is like a sign of notability that the startup has its Wikipedia page. It's not their worst startup maybe, and on Wikipedia page you can see, like, in a minute, look all the history, who financed and what happened, what is the business model, what is the logotype, even what is the website, how does it look in general. So it's very good for startups to gather information into one place and to summarize what's happening with a company.
Yeah, That's awesome. I mean, and also I love what you're just saying. You kind of are getting, if I have a Wikipedia page, or if my podcast has a Wikipedia page, or my business, the Arts and Fleet company that you guys are reaching out to me about, has a Wikipedia page, we're going to be in the history books of the, in the internet history book forever. Whereas, people that don't have, I mean, I guess social media does allow, almost everybody to have their own kind of little, chapter in the history of the internet. But with a Wikipedia page, I mean, if anyone from history is going to go back and look at as close as they can be to like hard facts about what happened when humans were roaming the earth and had this weird thing, the internet, Wikipedia would be like the first place anyone would go to gather.
Legacy. It's legacy that it's kind of achievement or effort. Like YouTubers like to have like these buttons, like golden, silver. It's like means nothing. You have your count on website. Why should you have this plastic button? But everyone wants to have it, and it's kind of like treatment or bonus.
Yeah, that's all. Do you have your own Wikipedia page? I probably should have looked that up before getting on here. Do you have your own Wikipedia page?
No, we are not so not so well described in media. Someone created for us and said that we are paid, we are bad, we are making money on poor Wikipedia, and we decided not to delete it. And because like even such advertisement is good, but then those guys decided to delete it themselves as they were trying to mock us, and they decided that we can have results from it and capitalize on it and delete it. Wikipedia page.
Yeah, they took it down. That's funny. Do you have any like cool past clients that you've worked with, or anybody like any companies that were like fun to work with that I mean, I'm in America, so I don't know if I'd know any of them, but anybody that of noteworthy that I might know?
We have a bunch of American, but we usually sign this NDA, and on Wikipedia, it's like a trick. When I say I worked on this page, someone who knows it can go to this page and try to delete it and say it was paid, it was made for money, or it was created by a biased editor. And so,
makes sense. Makes sense. Well, cool. I mean, I guess I really appreciate your time. It was a very interesting conversation, not one that I was anticipating coming in, like when I first messaged y'all, and then once I started doing a little more research, I was like, this is going to go not in the direction of business, which is what, I don't know if you listen to any of my other podcast episodes, but they all go kind of more down the business route. So I appreciate you coming on and sharing just your knowledge of what it's like, living in Ukraine, what it's like right now being a part of Ukraine. I guess really last question I have for you is if there was anything you could say to either a Russian civilian, soldier, Putin himself, like what would you say, and like what would your message be to them as far as like what you're hoping the outcome of this war is and what you hope happens in the not too distant future around Russia and Ukraine?
I would suggest them to surrender and to stop this war, because longer it goes, more people are killed, and Russian destiny as Russia as a state is in more trouble as long as they make this war. So if they stop today and try to retreat from Ukraine, maybe Russia can be saved as a country. But from this point, I don't think so, and I think Russia will be disintegrated into many parts. So it's almost an inevitable result of this war.
Yeah, geez. Well,
the best way is just to stop. As someone told, if Russia stop the war, they just stop the war. And if Ukraine stop fighting, it will be deleted as on Wikipedia. It will be destroyed, and Ukraine won't exist. For Russia, it just costs some money, sanctions. And for Ukraine, it's like skin in the game. Or you live or you don't live.
Yeah, no. Well, I will say, you're right on with that. If Russia decided to stop fighting and pull their troops out of Ukraine and cease fire,
Putin even may get some Nobel Prize for peace even for this.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say that's probably the only thing, because I know when I heard the news, I thought that Ukraine was gonna be completely occupied by Russia, a matter of days, and it's been over a year now, and you guys are still fighting and keeping them away. And so, yeah, if you guys stop fighting, there will be no more Ukraine, and if Russia stops fighting, at least the deaths and God forbid raping.
And they will also save their army because it's been destroyed in Ukraine, so it's mutual destruction for both, and Ukraine knows it. And Russia likes to say, we are so big, we are so proud, we are so good, we cannot retreat, we cannot be like second, we should be like the first. We cannot. We should save our face. But if Ukraine, it will disappear. So it's not because Ukraine is so cool. No, we just want to live. It's very basic decision to fight. And Russia tries to show that Ukraine is so tricky. It uses American money to undermine Russians' sovereignty. But no, we want to live in our country. It's not about we don't like Russians. We hate them only because they invaded. And we can hate for many hundreds of years of destruction, of genocides made during Soviet times. But we forgot about it. But it repeats again.
Yeah.
So I hope it's like last fight with Russia, as we during 300 history we had a lot. It's like last fight, and at last everyone in the world is helping us, as like world is globalized, more flat, everything is visible, and it helped us. If it happened 20 years ago, I don't know if we had such a good support from NATO.
Yeah. Yeah, well, no, I mean, I think the work that you're doing around literally documenting it in real time is going to be something that at least goes down in history as something that was a huge positive. So I think what you're doing is great, and I think more information is never a bad thing. So getting it out there and more conversations with both, Russians and Ukraine people is only a good thing, just to hear both sides of the argument. And end of the day, all I care about being over here in America when it doesn't directly affect me is just let's have less people dying. So however we can have less people dying is a good thing. So hopefully things will de-escalate soon, and I hope you and your family are safe, and I really appreciate you coming on. You're welcome back anytime, and maybe one day when I need a Wikipedia page, I know exactly who to reach out to.
Okay, thank you, Chris.
All right, well, have a good one, Roman.
What your country does for Ukraine and for your own inspiration and your own efforts. I see that your heart is with Ukraine, and it's encouraged me to make more. Thank you very much.
I appreciate it. All right, have a good one. Thank you so much for checking out this week's episode of Chris's Secret Podcast. I am impressed that you found it. A huge thanks to Roman for joining me on this week's episode. Once again, my goal of this episode isn't to be pro-Ukraine or anti-Russia. My goal is just to learn from people that are living through a literal hell-on-earth experience. If you know anyone involved in the war, either in Ukraine or Russia, I would love an introduction so I can try and get them on the podcast to learn from their experience as well. It would mean the world to me if you could follow and subscribe to us on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. The podcast is called Chris's Secret Podcast, and new episodes drop every single week. Also, if you want to see clips from the show, make sure to check us out on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. We are at Chris's Secret Podcast. And if you want to get your questions answered here on the show during my favorite segment called the Mailbag segment, make sure to send me a DM on any of our social media pages, or you can also send me a DM on my personal Instagram page, which is just at Chris Arslan, or you can text me if you got my number, leave a comment in one of our latest videos, or leave us a review and ask a question in there. I want to hear from my listeners. So with all that said, thanks again for tuning in, and remember to figure out some ways to make some passive income so I can see you out on the slopes or on the pickleball courts. Until next time, y'all. Peace.